Irrational Games expertly crafted a beautiful yet foreboding environment where I constantly felt tension from the pressures of the ominous sea. An overall feeling of claustrophobia is business as usual under the sea. What I was not expecting was an out-of-the-blue, shocking moment during a visit to the dentist. Now, murderous psychopathic doctors bent on experimenting on what beauty truly means is creepy enough. But when I walked into the dentist's office and the room filled with steam, I thought to myself, okay, Ken Levine, you got me, well played, ah! I fully expected to fight a few enemies in the mist and go on my merry way. But no, I was allowed passage all the way through to the end of the room, awarded with a gene tonic, and even brought into a menu system to equip it. Why the sudden break in immersion bringing me out of the game, you ask? Because, ah! The second you exit the menu and turn around, a heavily breathing, surgery-ready physician is there to beat you senselessly with a pipe wrench. Not very often is a game crafted so well to keep you teetering on the border of insanity, only to throw caution to the wind and dick slap you with a good old-fashioned hold down the trigger until the gun goes click moment.
Catherine is probably one of my favorite scary games because it deviates so much from the linear storylines that most games present to gamers. It tells the story of a man in his 30s named Vincent Brooks, who seems to be unhappy and unfulfilled in his life and spends most of his time with his buddies drunk at a bar. His girlfriend of several years, Catherine with a K, has also been grieving him with the idea of marriage, which Vincent makes very clear he is unprepared for. Until he meets Catherine with a C, who is Vincent's physical ideal of the perfect woman. Then the player begins to experience some very strange events at night. Vincent will go to sleep and wake up in a nightmare, where he has to climb to the top of stone blocks. The player is forced to make staircases, build bridges, in a desperate attempt to make it to the top. For the most part, these nights go on similar. You have to race the clock, and depending on which difficulty you're playing on, will determine the speed at which it needs to be completed. I played on easy because I really wanted to enjoy the storyline, and I'm awful at puzzles. However, as you increase the difficulty settings, only do so knowing that you will have to face a boss, which is what makes this game so scary. The bosses come in many forms of what Vincent is emotionally conflicted with. At one point, he sees Catherine with a K, dressed in a wedding gown, violently pursuing him as he tries to climb his way to the top. It's actually extremely nerve-wracking because the bosses move fast, and you have to think on your toes. Catherine is a great alone at night, like I did.
So a couple weeks back, I picked up a copy of Dishonored, and I gotta say, wow, this game is awesome. Superpowers, steampunk, revenge, it's all sweet fun. But dear lord is this game creepy on so many levels. But the one factor that shifts the balance from creepy to scary is the rats. The city of Dunwall is suffering from the plague thanks to the little critters, and now the disease-ridden vermin have developed a hankering for human flesh. The first time you see this is right after breaking out of prison into the sewers. Two poor chumps tasked with finding you open a door only to get swarmed and devoured. Not bitten and infected, not scared like little pansies. I mean that a horde of squeaky little f***ers attacked, killed, and ate them. All the while, you've got a front row seat for the show. And what happens after that? You drop into a room full of dead bodies only to have the swarm make a run at you for dessert. Now, it's true that later on, when you're all equipped with your badass assassin powers and weapons, you can just slice and dice the little bastards. But at this point in the game, when you're first starting off and you're helpless, this bit scared the hell out of me, and I made it a point from then on to further humiliate certain enemies by feeding them to the rats after dicing them up. Still, every time I see it, I cringe a bit as I recall that first shocking sight.
Killer 7 is a little-known game that is strange, underrated, and completely terrifying. You fight creepy figures called Heaven Smiles, and your first mission is to capture their chief. The thing about these guys is that you have to shoot one pinpointed area on their body in order to kill them and level up. If you panic and your aim isn't spot on, well. You know. My scary moment is when you encounter a decapitated head in the washing machine. I'm thinking, how do I fight this thing? but it isn't hostile. It actually gives you an item and some info. The fact that this grotesque thing that speaks to you in a freaky, garbled robot voice is your guiding light is what makes this part so scary. I'm not at all ashamed to admit that I didn't make it much further in the game.